Hey gang, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the regionally famous Ashland Fly Shop video fishing report for the 1st of March 2021. We're stoked, here we are, let's get to this. All right, so we're gonna hop right in with the Rogue River. We spend a lot of time there. It's right in our backyard. We love it. So March kicks off what I feel is kind of the, really getting into the peak season for the Upper Rogue. I'm talking about the Upper Rogue. We've talked about this before, but everywhere from like Grants Pass up to the hatchery there. Is what I would consider it. We fish mostly in the Medford up to the hatchery area, but so that's kind of our real small slice of the pie. But we kind of talk about all that in there, all that fishing from Grants Pass on up. So yeah, now's the time to start looking around. Not a lot of great reports so far from the Rogue. A couple fish caught, couple nice fish here and there. Nothing really reflective of larger numbers of fish coming to the Rogue. But now is when we really start to look for that for the winter fish coming in, and really into like that first, even second week of April. I would consider that to be kind of prime time. So it's time to start checking it out. March has come in like a lamb. It has been absolutely beautiful the last few days. Just stunning weather, really nice time to be out there. But looks like we're going to get some weather, a couple good punches coming through the weekend and into next week. It is going to play havoc with the river a bit. Grants Pass, Rogue River downstream. You're probably looking at some pretty high flows, some off-color water. The Upper River, we're still looking at low flows coming out of the hatchery. I don't really expect that to change much. Probably going to stay pretty well in that like 1,000 to 1,200 CFS range, maybe a little bit up and down, but we will get into some off-color water. We will see some of those bigger tributaries, pumping dirt in and stuff. So Tuvell Park, Dodge Bridge, in those areas, we're going to see some off-color water. So you just got to keep an eye on it. You just got to watch those flow charts. We do have those resources on our website, but you do want to be aware of the flow charts, turbidity, and keep an eye on that stuff for the next several weeks. That's going to be your, that's going to be really what you want to watch for as far as fishing conditions. And then also feel free to give us a call, and we can certainly help you suss that out. So now is the time. Same stuff. We talk about it over and over and over, but a lot of same stuff. If we do get into off-color water, we really like those. If we're swinging flies, we're using, larger, darker patterns, things like that. Now's the time to break out those, little bit bigger flies and fish and try to get in front of a holding steelhead. Now's a good time to be doing that. Your T14 tips, stuff like that. Nymphing, it's always the same. Maybe just a little bit bigger bugs, a little bit larger size 4 stoneflies, but it's always kind of the same stuff. Hothead stones, hothead, egg flies, things like that. So Upper Rogue, we'll keep you tuned in. We're hoping to see some decent fishing before it's all done here around the second week of April, and we'll keep you tuned in there. March on the Upper Klamath, we really start to see that kind of drop off, and we really kind of start to pull away from fishing down there. I do expect it. It's been really solid down there, so I do expect that to go on for the next couple weeks or so, but we start to kind of move away from that fishing a bit. It starts to get a little more spotty. So Upper Klamath, I would say, not super hot on. I do expect the weather coming in will probably muddy that water up pretty good, and anything down of I-5 is probably going to get pretty blown out in the next week or so. Still probably a pretty good bet for the next week and a half, but I'd start kind of thinking about some other possible upstream fisheries than the Upper Klamath. But it's been good if you've been able to get up there a bit in the last couple months, January, February. It's been pretty solid. We've seen some nice fish come out of there, and it's always a good bet through that time. We're always happy to see it. always happy to fish up there. So yeah, a couple more weeks up there and we'll be wrapping it up. Holy water trout fishing in March. What happens up there? So we start to see some shifts. We do start to see some spawning activity. You know, I was involved with a group kind of monitoring the holy water. We did some stalking and some tagging and stuff. And one of the big takeaways that we had is the amount of spawning activity that happens in the holy water really surpassed what we thought. So March will be the month, March and April, when we do see those fish spawning. There are some really good places you can walk along the holy water on a nice bright day and get a good vantage down into the river, and you'll see reds. You will see fish on reds. So we really want to try to avoid that. I know the holy water is kind of a, you know, it's kind of a stocked fishery or whatever, so we don't kind of get too excited about the wild fish in there or whatever. But you know, we do want to let those fish, if we want to see those fish kind of multiply in there, and really the fish that are spawning in there, we want to see them really hold on to that. So we want to stay away from fishing the reds. There's no reason to be running egg patterns and stuff over reds and stuff up there for holy water fish. There's plenty of fish in there that are available. So keep an eye out. Reds are in pretty obvious areas. If you fish up there a lot, you probably know where they're going to be. So we want to kind of be aware, leave those fish alone to do their thing. But we will start seeing some, you know, some hatches, some different hatches. You can even see a handful of squala or small winter stoneflies up there this time of year. Can be pretty interesting. We will see some blue-wing olive hatches sort of linger up there. And the fish will start to become a little more aggressive now to streamers. So, you know, keep after it with the trout spay stuff up there. It's a great spot for swinging flies and fishing streamers up there with your trout spay rods. And we'll start to see a little more activity, a little more aggressive behavior from the fish as we move into, you know, March, April, May up there. So holy water, be a decent bet coming out of winter. But you know, something to do. Okay, let's talk a little about NorCal trout. March sees things kind of shift a bit too. I would say especially on the lower Sacramento. We've been talking about that a little bit more now and sharing some info from our friends down there, Confluence Outfitters, Kennedy Brothers, fishing down there. And March we'll start to see a real shift because they'll get pretty warm weather, so that'll really get the bugs moving. And I think that they can get some pretty epic caddis fishing down there, whether dries or just nymphing. But we really start to see, I mean, they've had pretty good fishing the last, you know, 8 weeks too, but it'll really start picking up. And that spring chunk down there before the flows really get too high, I think can be pretty exceptional. So, so lower Sac's going to be a pretty good bet. Upper Sacramento has been a nice, solid choice when the flows are good. And that's continuing to hang on. I think March will still continue to be a good time. You want to keep an eye on the flows. It can kind of flash up and down with rain pretty quickly, but it's definitely going to be a good place to be. Just still continuing the same tactics, you know, nymph fishing, you know, bigger runs and, you know, glides and things like that, and holes is where you want to be, as opposed to fishing smaller pocket water like we do in the summer. But they'll be fishing there. I like fishing a little bit further down, you know, from like the Castle Crags area on downstream, maybe through Dunsmuir a little bit, but it's, you know, a little tight in there, more freestone pocket water stuff. But downstream you get some of that those bigger runs and stuff, and I think that's where the fish like to hang out a bit. So Upper Sac's still a good bet. A little birdie told me something very interesting today, which I'm excited about. A little bit controversial, but I think it'll be fine. And that is a couple of our favorite NorCal fisheries opening up for year-round angling. And that is Hat Creek from Powerhouse to Riffle down to Lake Britton. So that wild trout stretch that we love. And the lower MCCLOUD, which is also that wild trout section that we really enjoy fishing in the summer. Both are open to fishing all year. And I have often thought about what the fishing might be like in the shoulder seasons and in winter down there, and I'm excited to check it out. It makes going to, like, the Pit River's also open all year, and kind of makes going down there and fishing a couple different places together a little more viable. You know, fishing Hat Creek and doing some winter camping and fishing Hat and Pit would be a really fun thing to do. Hat Creek could be very interesting. I think it could be the most viable with, you know, like little winter midge hatches and things like that, that I would be sure would get those fish moving in some of the flat sections, you know, maybe even better fishing than we find in the summer there at times. So that's really something to look at. I don't know what the fish will do in the Powerhouse riffle, if they'll continue to kind of cycle in and out of there. It's hard to say. MCCLOUD, I don't know. That doesn't hold real appeal to me, except for maybe fishing a little bit later in the year and maybe starting a little bit earlier. You know, that kind of freestone fishing. I mean, there could be some really good fishing. It could be really hard to get down in there too, depending on where you're going, Ash Camp or down further to the, you know, to the Adina area down there, Conservancy area. But very interesting, and I'm sure people will be at it, and we'll get the feedback and share it with you. But I, for one, am fairly excited about to check some of that fishing out. So. A few pay-to-play fisheries open up this time of year, kind of lower elevation stillwater fishing. I know the Fly Shop in Redding has a few properties that they book. I know Confluence books a place called Eagle Canyon Ranch, I think, and that's looks like a pretty outstanding early season fishery. And then we work with the Fly Shop at Sugar Creek Ranch, which we've talked a fair amount about over the last couple years here, and that can be a really cool place early season to kind of shake off the cobwebs and check something out. Actually, we just had a customer go fish over there on Monday, and I'm curious to know how he did. But yeah, usually we get down there around the last part of March, and we kind of check it out for the season and kind of have some fun, do a little shooting down there. But I think it's still 150, 155 for the day, but well worth it. Really a cool fishery. Lots of neat water down there, and a few different ponds to fish. So I do recommend it, and we're happy to help you with that. Oregon coast, if you still got the hots for that fishing, there's still a few weeks left to get down there and check it out. Again, we've got some pretty big systems coming through starting around Thursday or Friday of this week, so you're really going to want to keep an eye on that. I think it's probably going to really be some challenging fishing out there, probably pretty wide, pretty all-encompassing blowout happening down there, but you know, some of those rivers can come back into shape pretty quickly. So, and sometimes these weather patterns don't materialize the way we think they will, so, or the way they're forecast to. So keep an eye on it. You know, it's all about conditions. You know, it's all about following that and time and your timing and just being there. So, you know, you've got a few weeks left. We do see some really nice fish caught this time of year. So keep at it down there. It's just about wrapped up, but still a little bit light at the end of the tunnel for you. Okay, just a little quick North Umpqua blurb. So this is a good time to be fishing up there. The North Umpqua is open, you know, a little bit later, like the Rogue, you know, and can fish well even into April. We've seen some great fish come out of there in years past. Again, we haven't heard much about it this year. Actually, a good buddy of ours did get a really nice fish in the last couple weeks. So there definitely are fish up there, and this can be the real peak time to be up there. So keep an eye on the flows. And good luck up there. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to find any information out, but it can be some really great fishing. So good luck. And that's it. That's where we're at for March for your regional fishing update and outlook. Thank you so much for following along. We appreciate sharing this info with you the best we can. As always, please subscribe to our account. It's super helpful for us, and you'll be the first to see these reports as they come out. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're excited about doing, and we'll see you soon.